Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dive into the nitty-gritty of company filings to uncover what's really going on behind the scenes. Today we're looking at Golub Capital Private Credit Fund and their latest update. It sounds like they've got some news to share about how they're doing, and we're here to break it down for you. Before we jump in, if you like getting clear, no-nonsense explanations of corporate financial news, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, we've got a fantastic community over on Discord where we talk all things investing, so make sure to join us there. The link is in the description below. Alright, let's get straight to it. This isn't a super long or complex filing, it's more of a summary update. The main event here is that on August 20th, 2025, Golub Capital Private Credit Fund, which we'll call the company, put out a quarterly update. Think of it as a quick check-in on how things are going. Now, this report is filed under what's called the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. For us regular folks, this just means it's a required report for publicly traded companies to keep everyone informed about important company events. It's like the official rule book that makes sure companies are transparent with their investors. The company itself, Golub Capital Private Credit Fund, operates in the private credit space. This means they lend money to companies, usually those that might not get loans from traditional banks. They're essentially a financial intermediary, managing money and investing it in these private loans. Quick glance at their basic info here. They're incorporated in Delaware and they have their commission file number and IRS employer identification number, which are like their official government IDs. Nothing too exciting for us, but important for the company's legal standing. We can see their main office is in New York City. That's where the strategic decisions are likely being made. This part is a bit of a formality. It's asking if this report is also being used to meet other reporting obligations related to communications like marketing or public announcements. In this case, none of those boxes are checked, so it's a straightforward report. It's also noted here that they don't have any specific classes of securities trading under a symbol on an exchange. This is important because it tells us how they're structured, and it's not a typical stock you'd buy on the New York Stock Exchange. They are a private credit fund, so their investor base and how they operate are different from a company like Apple or Google. They've also indicated they are not an emerging growth company. This means they've been around and are subject to the full set of reporting rules, which is generally good for transparency. Now we're getting to the juicy part that tells us what the actual news is. Item 701 covers what they call Regulation FD disclosures. This just means they're disclosing important information to the public in a way that everyone gets access to it at the same time, preventing anyone from having an unfair advantage. This is the core piece of information. On August 20, 2025, Golub Capital Private Credit Fund released their quarterly update for the second calendar quarter of 2025. So we're looking at their performance from April to June of 2025. This is a very important legal disclaimer. When they say information is furnished and not filed under this specific section, it means they are providing this update for informational purposes, but they are trying to limit their legal responsibility if the information turns out to be slightly off or misinterpreted down the line. It's a way for them to share news without taking on the full legal weight that a formal filing might carry. Think of it like a no liability sticker on their announcement. Item 901 is where they tell us what extra documents are attached to this report. These are the exhibits that provide the actual details. This is exhibit 99.1. and it's the actual quarterly update document itself. This is where we'd find the numbers and specific performance details if the filing were more comprehensive. And Exhibit 104 is related to interactive data files, which are basically digital versions of their reports that computers can read and process. This is becoming more common and helps with data analysis for regulators and investors who use specialized software. So what does this all mean? This filing is essentially an announcement that Golub Capital Private Credit Fund has released its second quarter 2025 update. For a private credit fund, this update would typically cover their investment performance, the types of loans they've made, the credit quality of their borrowers, and how much income they've generated. Since they're not publicly traded in the traditional sense, their updates are geared more towards their investors and stakeholders. While this specific 8K doesn't contain the detailed financial tables we often see in a 10Q or 10K, the mention of Exhibit 99.1 indicates that the actual financial performance details are in that separate document. Without those specifics here, it's hard to give a detailed financial breakdown. However, the fact that they're issuing an update in the second quarter of 2025 suggests ongoing operations and a need to communicate their status. In the private credit world, performance can be heavily influenced by by interest rate environments, the health of the underlying companies they lend to, and their ability to originate new deals that meet their return criteria. A strong quarter would mean they're making profitable loans, collecting interest payments, and perhaps growing their assets under management. A weaker quarter could signal challenges in finding good deals, increased defaults from their borrowers, or a less favourable economic climate impacting their returns. Now for my take. This is a fairly standard reporting action for a fund like Golub Capital. The key takeaway is that they are communicating their quarterly performance, which is a good sign of transparency with their stakeholders. However, without the actual content of Exhibit 99.1, we're missing the crucial performance numbers. What we can infer is that they operate in a sector that can be quite dynamic. The strength of their business hinges on the quality of their lending portfolio and their ability to manage risk effectively. If their borrowers are financially stable and repaying their loans on time, the fund will likely do well. If their borrowers are struggling, that could mean losses for the fund and its investors. The not filed disclaimer, while legal, suggests they're being cautious about the information they are publicly presenting in this specific document. It reinforces the idea that the real meat of the report is in the separate exhibit they've attached. To truly assess Golub Capital Private Credit Fund's health, we'd need to see the details of that quarterly update. We'd be looking for things like the total value of loans they manage, the interest rates on those loans, how many loans are performing well, and how many might be facing difficulties. We'd also want to see their expenses and net income. In conclusion, this filing tells us that Golub Capital Private Credit Fund has shared its second quarter 2025 performance update. It's a signal of ongoing activity and communication, but for the real insights into their financial health and strategic direction, we'd need to look at the attached exhibit. It's a reminder that sometimes the most important information isn't on the main form itself, but in the supporting documents. What are your thoughts on these types of updates from private credit funds? Let me know in the comments below. Did you find this breakdown helpful? If so, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. And don't forget to join our Discord community to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.